No, we cannot recommend that JAM should take over the responsibility because that would raise issues about autonomy, the integrity of
Integrity
tertiary
of
institutions,
institutions.
and it will diminish in public perception the known capacities. Because that's a platform for producing the highest level of human capital for national development. It should manage its own processes. That's number one. Number two, why are we having the challenges? Let's look at a few reasons. One of the reasons is the carrying capacity of the universities. Now, the Vice Chancellor has told us that she has 3,000 applications. I'll probably be able to take maybe 400, something 300.
300.
Yes. Now, let us suppose that this Vice Chancellor has a faculty of medicine with maybe 2 colleges. In other words, that there's a college of medicine that can take 3,000. It will address the issue of carrying capacity. And that's the challenge of most of our universities. And sometimes I think part of the measures being taken to address it is the creation of new universities. That's not, in my view, investment in a university. It's investment in education infrastructure for university education. How do you make substantive investment? That money, you're going to build a university for about 5 years or more. Within that 5 years, you've not produced one graduate. But here is UNIBEN in existence that can extend its facilities and do further recruitment. And in the next academic session, it will take in more students. That will raise carrying capacity. But we are celebrating the emergence of infrastructure that will deliver nothing and yet is on record. And a lot of money would have gone into it. So carrying capacity is one thing. Then parenting, as strange as it may sound, is another. Most of the time, we parents are eager to announce and advertise our children. Oh, Claire, do you know that my daughter just graduated at 14? I expect that by the time she's 19, she would have gotten her doctorate degree. Like Prof said here, is my CV as a parent? I will damage a life permanently in order to show off this child. Parents is not coming on TV. Nobody graduates after secondary school in my house and goes to university the next year. All my children, and 4 were graduates, working, some. You finish secondary school, you do a gap year. In that gap year, you work for 3 months or 6 on minimum wage. That's number one. You learn a skill. If you're a girl, you choose between that, you can plait hair, which will fetch you about $50 for a 2-hour job outside this country, where you are. So by the time, and you run the home, you cut down ShopRite, you go to Wuse Market, you go to all those strange places, and what does that lead to? By the end of that 1 year, you will find a school. I won't find a school for you. You choose your course. I will not tell you what to study, but the thing you...
Some will tell you that's where those jobs are available. The hair plating you are talking about over there is available. But what about the students here?
No, that's the point I'm making. Supposing you finish learning that and you're schooling in UNIBEN, you think a student will go and pay 8,000 in, what do you call it, Igboba Hill, instead of paying 3,000 in the hostel for a fellow student.
Yes.
Now, that's the point. But the essence of it is, we are so desperate to have our children announced as graduates at a very early age that we forget that they need to also be human beings. Can they manage relationships? You had the Vice Chancellor narrating the crisis of little children. They haven't finished growing up. And all these people who are jumping into school at that age, what kind of socialization have they had? You use vehicles to carry them to school during primary and secondary. Some of them are not studying where you're living, so they go by air. They are totally disconnected from their generation. And that's the children. And they're also the absolute minority. They are not equipped. So 3 things on the table. Carrying capacity has to be increased for existing universities. That should be a major focus on funding. Secondly, if JAMB doesn't have it, it should be made available to JAMB. Extra emergency funding for national conversation on the damage being done to young Nigerians by the antics of parents, by the crisis in the system. JAMB needs advocacy that will go down. It's not sufficient. This is very good, but then we must think of access. We must know that the centers of power and communication devolve progressively. You have the local government level. They can begin with a regional agreement, a regional roundtable, drill it down, and then get ANCOPs, get Ministry of Education, Get all platforms, the activists. It's not, we can't just be talking about all kinds of rights without forgetting that our humanity is disappearing. So finally on this, and in respect of the crisis on the table, what do we want to achieve as a people? Responsible citizenship, responsible parenting, a stable society. Now, in that, you also have wrong mentors at the political level. That's part of the crisis. Has anybody thought of a conference for education secretaries in the country? They are the ones in charge of education at the local government level. We had one in 2006. Every single one of them was brought to 700 and something in Abuja for weeks. Now, they need to understand that the assumption that your job as a teacher is a means of livelihood is a dominant consciousness. Your job as a teacher, you're standing in local parentis. You are in the process of molding a new set of human beings. You are a mentor and a guide at the same time. How many people still appreciate that? So let's deal substantively with things that can be done. Reduce the opportunity. Because when we were at the JAMB office, JAMB got, I think, nearly 1.6 million admissions, out of which 600 and something has been accepted. Question. Each year that you have more than 400,000 people who can get in, where do they go to? When we were growing up, there were vocational schools, there were technical. Those options no longer exist. Therefore, a much larger population of young Nigerians are moving into, with a lot of energy, are moving into criminality. And that's the fact of the matter. And the last point on that is, go to the 2006 census. From that figure, how many ought to be in secondary school? 33.9. How many were confirmed to be in school by the school census? 6.4. Therefore, the beggars will always be there. The urchins will always be there. And we need to do something about that.
We need to do something.
Just